My name is Nathan, and I wanted to talk about the history of jazz. Jazz came from many different people's favorite music genres. It was the music of the world, and it was influenced by different people's cultures. People from all around the world contributing, putting their parts in. La La Land centered around jazz, and the main character wanted to start a band, a club of jazz, and his main goal was to stop jazz from disappearing entirely, which is a problem we have today in this world. And a great way to stop this problem is to understand how we know jazz today and the reason and the history of jazz. And I got most of this information from Jazz Observer. How did this music get around? Why did people like it so much? Why was it so influential for people? Was there a reason so many people were captivated by it? Were the people who made it musical geniuses, or were they just lucky? Did the setting inspire them, or was it their area around them? Was it made by accident, or made through years and years of hard work? At what year and time was this made? And who really gets the credit for making this musical genre? Was it a place like a city, a town, or a small village that the creation of this musical genre was created? Was it from a place made of music, or a quiet place that's very dull, without any music at all? A great way to learn about the history of jazz is to talk about the points of jazz. Next slide. Uh, how jazz was made. Jazz was made by slaves gathering together on Sundays and playing together. It was almost the only things they could do back then due to laws, and it meant a lot for them since there wasn't much they could do. It was made from the creativity of different places and different people. Since these people came from different places, they brought their culture and their musical genres with them. And the band of slaves would usually play together, and these genres would usually be played. They also brought different instruments and their own styles of music, which not only influenced jazz, but was a main point of jazz, like ragtime, blues, spiritual music, and a bunch of other genres we probably don't even know today. Next slide. And also how it became popular was a very important thing, since if it wasn't popular back then, we would not have even heard of it today. Slaves were only allowed to play music on Sunday due to laws at the time. And because of these laws, it was almost the only thing they can do. It was something that was very important for them and one of the only things they could bring from their home. Clubs who served illegal alcohol often played jazz and was the big factor of why jazz became so popular back in the day, because it was something that so many people did, and it was just something they had in the background noise in these establishments. Louis Armstrong played jazz, and that had a huge impact on the jazz popularity, since he was a very popular musician, and many people were influenced by him. They often played jazz because of him, and more people started listening because this popular musician played it so much. And I got most of this information on youdiscoveredmusic.com. Next slide. And another thing that was very important is who, where, and when was jazz made. Jazz was made in the late 19th century, and around the time telephone and cars were starting to be made. In New Orleans, Kango Square, different people from different backgrounds and from different places came together and they played music. It was something very great since they could all come together and that they were able to all bring in their own styles of music and bring it all together. These slaves came from different places. That means jazz came from not one place, but from many different places, from many different people, and it's truly a music everyone in the world can enjoy, since it was made by the music of the world. And I got most of this information from levinemusic.com. Next slide. In conclusion, the history of jazz was made of multiple things. Jazz was made from the people and the musical styles of the world, since jazz is just a collection of musical genres. Made in New Orleans, Kingo Square, 19th century, by slaves. These people didn't have much, and these were the only things they were allowed to do back then. It was something very important to them, and I feel the music of jazz wouldn't have been created if these circumstances weren't here, and these people weren't all together. Made popular by musicians and often establishments who play them in background noise, this made the popularity of jazz very great. And I believe that the history of jazz is still continuing, and that one day in the future they could look back and this would be the past of jazz, something that could have been more influential and that they could enjoy more in the future. This was my next slide. This was my my reading of the history of jazz, and my name's Nathan Villegas. Yay!